Chapter 1051. If Bei Yunj had only helped Valerie deal with someone, Valerie would probably get into even bigger trouble in the future. By doing this, she was undoubtedly protecting Valerie's path of retreat. Bei Yunj's eyebrows twitched. This was the first time she had seen Nancy so gentle. "Master, you're not angry anymore?" Nancy walked in front of Bei Yunj and snorted lightly. "Since you're born as a human, you have to live like a human. What's there to be angry about?" As a researcher, a sense of mission was greater than one's own strength. This was the right direction for future research and development. Bei Yunj's lips curled up as she walked slowly behind him. "Though, you have to remember that the older generation of researchers in your country are worthy of respect by countless people." Nancy narrowed his eyes and recalled the memories of Wang Lin and the others secretly coming to his class. He could not help but chuckle silently. Nancy changed his profession at the age of 20 and became the principal of Neely University at the age of 30. It was also during those years that he met Wang Lin. At that time, the scientific research and technology of Country A was very different from that of Country R. As a result, even the extremely talented Wang Lin suffered a lot when he was studying abroad. However, Wang Lin was willing to study wholeheartedly. He often hid in a corner and listened to Nancy teach graduate students. Nancy pretended not to know. In the 9th year, Wang Lin won the Busaka Award. After that, Wang Lin resolutely chose to develop in the country when faced with the temptation of a salary that was hundreds of times higher overseas. Even in the few years when he returned, he had faced resistance from the domestic circle because of differences in views. However, in Nancy's eyes, old researchers like Wang Lin should be remembered the most in history. Bei Yunj glanced at Nancy. These words were often said to her by Meng Liang in her previous life. Not long after. Before Bei Yunj could speak, she heard Nancy say angrily, "Who does Donner think he is? How dare he threaten me? When I destroyed the entire circle back then, he was still playing with mud somewhere." Bei Yunj, who was walking behind them, was speechless. "Bei Yunj, listen to me. Only those cowardly and incompetent masters would make their disciples behave themselves. What's wrong with my disciple being a little arrogant? Even if you poke a hole in the sky, I have a way to cover it." Nancy was also a hot topic in the circle back then. Because of Nancy, Neely University became the world's top school. "Go back first. Come find me at 73 Cliff Road tomorrow." Nancy glanced at her and said, "Master, why don't we have a meal together?" Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. "I still have to deal with something. Let's talk about it tomorrow." Nancy left in a hurry. Bei Yunj looked at Nancy's back with an obscure look in her eyes. Not long after, the corners of her lips curled up again. "Miss Pei, Master Du is here." Tseng Su hurried over again. "Go buy me some drinks. I'm going back to find him now." Bei Yunj nodded. After Tseng Su left, she called Shang Yan. "What's wrong?" Shang Yan was already used to Bei Yunj not visiting him for no reason. Bei Yunj smiled straightforwardly. "President Shang, I seem to have caused some trouble." Shang Yan was speechless. "What did you do?" Shang Yan pressed between his eyebrows. "I'm at Continent K Academy. The dean already knows my identity." Bei Yunj's eyes curved as she slowly chewed on the candy, but there was no warmth in her eyes. "Find a chance to get the dean to sign a confidentiality agreement. P.S. After today's update, I'll send a red packet." End of chapter. Chapter 1052. Got it. Shang Yan pressed between his eyebrows. Just as he was about to say something, Bei Yunj suddenly saw Huashidu on the phone in the car. She looked at the man's handsome side profile with interest and subconsciously lowered her voice. "President Shang, let's talk next time." At this moment, Nieyu asked, "Sir, did Elder Miss cause trouble again?" Shang Yan curled his lips. "Yes, go and settle these matters later. Actually, you can let me handle Elder Miss's matter directly." "You don't have to." Before Nieyu could finish speaking, he noticed Shang Yan's indifferent gaze sweeping over him. Instantly, Nieyu fell silent. On campus, Bei Yunj had just knocked on Huashidu's car window when Tseng Su suddenly called and said that he had not found the way. Bei Yunji's eyelids twitched and she had no choice but to look for Tseng Su first. However, halfway through the journey, Tseng Su was very happy. "Miss Pei, I found Master Du." Bei Yunji was speechless. "Pei." Before Tseng Su could finish speaking, Bei Yunji hung up the phone and walked back. But not long after, Bei Yunji suddenly saw a beautiful girl standing beside the man's back. The girl blushed and looked at the man shyly. Soon, she tiptoed and wanted to kiss the man's side profile. Bei Yunji raised her eyebrows and her beautiful eyes darkened. She quickly walked to the man's side and gently held the girl's cheek with one hand. She chuckled lazily, her eyes seductive. "Classmate, whose person are you kissing?" The girl looked up and saw the excessively beautiful girl in front of her. She was stunned for a moment. But soon she said angrily, "Who is she?" "Suyu, you bastard." Bei Yunji was about to say something when she suddenly realized that something was wrong. Who was this girl scolding? Bei Yunji suddenly had a bad feeling. As expected, she turned around and heard the man's chuckle. Where did this little girl come from? She has a sense of justice. This was not Huashidu's voice at all. Bei Yunji looked up and met Suyu's eyes. Bei Yunji couldn't be blamed for admitting his mistake. Today, Huashidu was different from usual. He was wearing a smoky gray suit. His posture was tall and straight, and he fully displayed his elegance and arrogance. He was both lustful and refined. Judging from the man's height and the suit he was wearing, it was easy to confuse him from the back. "Yun Yun." Suddenly, a low and magnetic voice sounded from not far away. The main character had appeared. Bei Yunji. A short while later, Bei Yunji slowly turned her head and looked at the angry girl in front of her. The two of them looked at each other. Bei Yunji also looked very natural. Then, before the girl could react, Bei Yunji suddenly gave the girl a hug and said politely, "Sorry for the intrusion. Please continue." After that, Bei Yunji stuffed a few candies into the girl's pocket and quickly left the scene without blushing. The girl, how could he be flirted with by a girl? However, in the next second, the girl's eyes widened when she saw the man Bei Yunji was walking towards. Master Du. What was even more unbelievable to the girl was that the unbelievably beautiful girl had burrowed her head into Huashidu's coat. "You've grown up. You even admitted your mistake to me?" When Huashidu saw Bei Yunji walking over expressionlessly, the corners of his upturned eyes were filled with amusement. He could not help but find it funny. "Yes, it's quite embarrassing." A certain Pei, who was in her arms, sighed and could not help but touch her. End of this chapter. Chapter 1053. After a while, the man's low chuckle drifted into Bei Yunji's ears. It was a little ticklish. Bei Yunji was speechless. Sensing that the person in his arms was messing around, the man quickly pressed her hand down and smiled casually. "If you want to, you can do it in the car later." Bei Yunji was speechless. At this moment, Suyu suddenly smiled and said, "So it's the one from Master Du's family. I've heard of her for a long time." He had been wondering what the person from Master Du's family would be like when Yu Hanran said that she was unruly. He could not guess that she would have such a personality. Suyu was quite interested. He looked straight at Bei Yunji, but when he sensed Huashidu's faint smile, he immediately looked away. This was the first time he knew that Huashidu was so possessive of someone. He could not even look at her. "Suyu, are you very free?" Huashidu glanced at him casually. He did not really care that his child had recognized the wrong person. "Master Du, your girl even recognized you wrongly. She doesn't seem to care much about you." Suyu was not afraid of death. Bei Yunji's eyelids twitched. She did not expect this person to bring trouble to her. Then, Bei Yunji tugged at the man's suit cuffs and coaxed him skillfully. "Brother, if he wasn't wearing a pad, I definitely wouldn't have recognized him wrongly." Suyu's smile froze. Suyu was not considered short. His height of 182 centimeters was very proper, but Huashidu's height of 187 centimeters made Suyu feel a little pressured. Therefore, Suyu would occasionally add a pad. However, he did not expect Bei Yunji to have such sharp eyes. At this moment, Suyu looked at Huashidu and glanced at his shoes. Master Du was too much. "Let's go." The man smiled silently and naturally held his little girl's hand and led her back to the car. Tsing Su drove the car that sent Bei Yunj to K Continent Academy and left. On the other side, Huashidu was sitting in the driver's seat. Bei Yunj was sitting beside him, glancing at the man from time to time. "What do you want to ask?" Huashidu asked. "What's the girl's name?" Bei Yunj felt sorry for the girl. "Her name is Su Jihuan." Bei Yunj turned to look at him, but didn't say anything. Su Yu is the adopted son of the Su family. It was decided long ago that he had to marry Su Jihuan. Huashidu was not interested in these things and only knew roughly what was going on. Bei Yunj didn't ask any more questions. She could tell that Su Jihuan liked Su Yu very much. But in Su Yu's eyes, there was no trace of Su Jihuan. "Are you interested in Su Jihuan?" The man asked casually. Bei Yunj, "What?" The man's sexy Adam's apple moved slightly and he chuckled. "If Yun Yun likes it, I'll ask the Su family to send her over to play with you tomorrow." Bei Yunj, "What a tyrant. I have to go out tomorrow." The man raised an eyebrow. "How's the inspection today?" Hearing this, Bei Yunj stopped playing with her phone. Not long after, she looked at him with curved eyes. Dr. Luo was a little busy today and didn't have time to do the inspection. "Brother, did you bring me to K Continent for this inspection?" The man looked at the little girl beside him through the rearview mirror. Huashidu parked the car at the side and stared at her with his pale-colored eyes. "Yun Yun, you don't like it?" Bei Yunj couldn't stand the man's staring gaze and instinctively wanted to open the car door. But the man locked the car even faster. Bei Yunj turned to look at him. End of chapter. Chapter 1054. Solve the problem first before getting out of the car. The man had just picked up the silver lighter when he thought of the person beside him. He could only throw it aside and lean back lazily. Bei Yunj also insisted. "I want to get out of the car and solve the problem later." The man glanced at her with his pale-colored eyes. After a few seconds, his gaze swept across the surrounding buildings. He chuckled. "That's fine too." Before Bei Yunj could get out of the car, she heard the man say slowly, "If you really want to get out of the car, let's go to the hotel next door and get a suite to talk." Bei Yunj. Huashidu also noticed that Bei Yunj was against this physical examination. However, if he really let her get out of the car, he was indeed afraid that Bei Yunj would avoid him in the future. Bei Yunj licked her red lips. The emotions in her eyes flickered. She looked very calm, but her fingertips were slightly white as she gripped her sleeves. In an instant, the complicated and frustrated emotions in her heart surged into the dark side that she had been trying her best to suppress. Soon, Bei Yunj looked up at the man. Most of the coldness and frustration in her heart disappeared, leaving only uneasiness and loneliness. She lowered her head and tried to sound him out. "Brother, I'm not your pet, right?" As soon as she finished speaking. For a moment, Huashidu wanted to throw this child out. The atmosphere was silent for a while. The man looked out of the car window, loosened his tie with one hand, and unbuttoned his collar. Then, a soft laugh that sounded like a mocking laugh floated into Bei Yunj's ears. Bei Yunj. This seemed to be the first time she saw Huashidu angry. Bei Yunj was about to organize her words when the man suddenly turned around and leaned towards her. He lifted her chin with one hand and narrowed his eyes carelessly as he looked at her face carefully. Bei Yunj looked into the man's dark eyes, which seemed to contain a terrifying aggressiveness. His posture was still light as he sneered, "I look like I have a fetish for beasts, Yun?" After a while, Bei Yunj, who had just regained her senses, who was he scolding? Huashidu glanced at Bei Yunj, who was silent. "All right, I have to drive." "Big brother." Bei Yunj was about to say something when Huashidu reached out without turning his head and pulled down her loose hoodie to cover Bei Yunj's face. "Be quiet for a while." Bei Yunj, who couldn't see clearly, it was obvious that this person was really angry. Back at the manor, Zhong Xinglin's phone could not be reached for the time being, so Bei Yunj could only call Si Qingyan. "He doesn't know about this, does he?" Bei Yunj held the watering can in one hand, but her eyes were not on the expensive flowers. Si Qingyan was silent for a while. "Old master probably didn't tell your husband, but why don't you want to tell him?" Isn't the one in your family good enough for you? He had seen Mr. Hua a few times. He was handsome and noble, a classic example of a gentleman who could charm young girls to death. He almost doted on Pei Yunj until she was in a mess. Pei Yunj's hand, which was holding the watering can, paused for a moment before she smiled slowly and said, "I feel inferior. Can't I?" "Who the hell would believe that you felt inferior?" Si Chengyan rolled his eyes. "If you don't want to say it, then don't. I'm busy too." "Alright, then I'll go coax him." Pei Yunj answered and really hung up the call. Si Chengyan? Was this something a human would do? A second ago, she thought that it was a sadistic love drama, but the next second, she was coaxing a man. P.S. Master Pei's illness was also the reason why Master Pei felt inferior in her previous life. Because she really liked Master Du, she tore open a dark side of her. But she wouldn't torture him. She would heal him. Our Master Pei would eat the sweetest candy and like the best people. Master Pei, as long as I'm not a person with a sweet mouth, sadomasochism won't be able to catch up to me. Continue to do it at night. End of this chapter. Chapter 1055. At the door of the study. The moment Zhou Yu came over, he saw Bei Yunj leaning against the wall. He was surprised. "What are you standing here for?" "Nothing." After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she looked at Zhou Yu and said, "Assistant Zhou, I seem to have made your Master Du angry." Zhou Yu looked at Bei Yunj's gaze and knew that Bei Yunj was asking him to help her come up with an idea. To be honest, no one dared to make Master Du angry. Zhou Yu thought about it and suddenly felt that something was wrong. How could Master Du bear to be angry with Miss Pei? If Miss Pei acted coquettishly, Master Du would even be willing to pluck the moon for her. So, Bei Yunj felt that the way Zhou Yu looked at her had changed, as if he was looking at a scumbag. His gaze was filled with accusation and disbelief. Bei Yunj. It was a pity that Huashidu's 2 assistants did not perform crosstalk. Suddenly, the phone in Zhou Yu's pocket vibrated. He bowed slightly to Bei Yunj and smiled politely. "Miss Pei, I'm sorry. Master Du is looking for me." Bei Yunj, in the study. "Master Du," Zhou Yu called out. After thinking for a moment, he said carefully, "Miss Pei is waiting at the door." Huashidu glanced at him casually. "You want to call her in?" Zhou Yu immediately shut up. For a moment, Zhou Yu wanted to know what Miss Pei had done. "There's something going on in Continent K's academy. Go and settle it." Huashidu threw the documents to Zhou Yu. "Let their director sign this agreement." Hearing this, Zhou Yu instinctively walked closer and picked up the contract on the desk. He opened it and saw that it was a confidentiality agreement. Zhou Yu was one of the few people who knew Bei Yunj's true identity. He was slightly surprised. "Director Donner knows about it?" He reported it. Huashidu's slender index finger tapped on the table gently. His voice was calm, but Zhou Yu felt a chill. Zhou Yu felt a chill down his spine. Dean Donner was too bold. He knew how important this was to Country A, so he didn't provoke them on the surface. Instead, he leaked this information to the higher-ups. He could also fight for some benefits for himself. However, what Tang Dina didn't expect was that this message would be sent to Huashidu. Understood. I'll get the dean to sign this document. Zhou Yu nodded. Then, Huashidu asked unhurriedly, "I heard that there's a vice principal of K Continent Academy who is from Country A?" Zhou Yu was stunned for a moment. Soon he bowed slightly to Huashidu. "Yes, Director Donner has reached the age where he should delegate power." After that, Zhou Yu sighed in his heart. What kind of bewitching potion did Miss Pei cast on Master Du? Before Zhou Yu could regain his senses, he heard the man ask casually, "She's been outside for so long. Aren't you going to let her in?" Zhou Yu, a short while later. Bei Yunj saw Zhou Yu come out with a document in his hand. "Miss Pei, please go in." Zhou Yu forced a smile. "Brother, have you calmed down?" Bei Yunj hesitated. Zhou Yu's smile cracked slightly. After a while, Bei Yunj pushed open the door of the study and saw the man inside reading a document. A pair of gold-rimmed glasses rested on the bridge of his nose. His collar was loose and casual. He was so lazy and sexy that it made people blush and their hearts race. Looking for me? Bei Yunj didn't speak for a long time. The man's low and magnetic voice sounded unhurriedly. P.S. More in the morning. Good night. End of chapter. Chapter 1056. Bei Yunj regained her senses. Even the words she had organized outside were disrupted by her thoughts. Brother. Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, the phone in her pocket suddenly vibrated. Who would insist on calling at this time? Bei Yunj took it out and saw that it was a call from Si Qingyan. Her eyebrows moved as she glanced at Huashidu and quickly answered the call. Before she could speak, she heard Si Qingyan ask, Yunj, is your third brother all right? Bei Yunj's eyes moved. What's wrong? Don't tell me you don't know that your third brother is competing in Continent K and lost just now. Si Qingyan immediately asked when he heard this. It was only then that Bei Yunj remembered that Qin Lang had said that there was a competition recently. He lost? Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. According to the previous trend, Qin Lang had never competed in Continent K. And the first time he lost, it was because his hand was injured. Yeah, I think something happened at the venue. Not only did Qin Lang lose the competition, he was also injured. I don't know if it's serious. Hearing this, Bei Yunj licked her red lips and was silent for a moment before she asked, Where's the address? After getting the address and hanging up the call, Bei Yunj noticed that the man had been looking at her. Are you going out? The man asked first. For a moment, Bei Yunj felt like she was no longer human. Bei Yunj nodded. Who knew? After a while, she heard the man say slowly, I thought you were here to coax me. Bei Yunj was speechless. So, in the back seat, Bei Yunj looked at the man beside her from time to time. However, the man was sitting upright with a book in his hand. His handsome eyes were light and calm, but he did not look at her. Suddenly, Brother, is the book that good? Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes curved as she leaned over and asked with a smile, Why don't you look at me more? Huashidu saw the young lady coming over and gently pressed his fingers against her head. But a certain someone, who had always been experienced, rubbed her forehead against his finger like a spoiled child. Before he could react, the book in the man's hand was snatched away. Bei Yunj flipped through a few pages and raised her eyebrows. You don't look as good as me. After saying this, Bei Yunj's book was taken away by a slender and beautiful hand. We're here. The car had just stopped, and the man's unhurried voice sounded. Bei Yunj, all right, I'll have to coax her next time. However, before Bei Yunj could get out of the car, someone suddenly grabbed her waist from behind. The world spun and Bei Yunj's back was suddenly pressed against a warm chest. Brother? Before she could regain her senses, her face was covered by something furry. The tip of her nose was filled with the unique cold and pleasant scent of a man. Huashidu reached out and pulled down the scarf, revealing the little girl's exquisite face. All right, you can go out now. Bei Yunj unconsciously curled the corners of her lips. Brother, you're still so nice to me even when you're angry? Huashidu glanced at her. He was already used to a certain someone's insatiable behavior. He sneered softly, and his magnetic and lazy voice sounded casually, Didn't you already have me under your thumb? In the stadium, Bei Yunj had just reached the door when she was stopped. Miss, this is the preliminary round. The audience seats are not open. Only the insiders can. Before the attendant could finish speaking, he saw a girl wearing a white hat swiping the black card in her hand on the magnetic card machine. After being doted on by the big shots, I'm wild. /book/83224/ Chapter 1057. Very soon, the barricade door opened automatically, and even the sound of the manager's announcement could be heard. However, the security guard did not notice all this. He only knew that this was an internal member. Where are Qin Lang and the rest? The girl lowered the brim of her hat and only her sharp chin could be seen. Miss, they're still backstage. I'll bring you there. After the security guard came back to his senses, he immediately brought her over. Backstage? What do you all mean? Almighty Qin was injured because of you. What kind of attitude is that? Bei Yunj had just entered when she heard the confrontation inside. He's obviously not as good as others. I finally know why Almighty Qin has never lost a competition. Before the staff could speak, another person in a blue uniform sneered. As long as he loses the competition, he can push the blame to others. Isn't that enough? You. The hot-tempered team member was about to say something when the coach beside him immediately stopped him. That's enough. Then, the coach looked at that person. Xiaoji, you and Almighty Qin are not on good terms. Watch your words and actions. After watching the show, Xiaoji sneered contemptuously and left. Qin Lang had been popular in the esports scene for so many years. It was time for him to be replaced. Almighty Qin, I'm very sorry. This time, it was our people's mistake that caused you to be injured. However, this competition can't be delayed. Do you want to change people? The organizer asked. If it wasn't for the fact that their referee team had an anti-fan, Qin Lang wouldn't have been injured. However, even if it was because of the organizer's mistake, they wouldn't suspend the competition because of this accident. After all, it wasn't easy for the team under EG Corporation to win against Qin Lang. Of course, they wouldn't want to let go of this opportunity. What are you doing? If it wasn't for the organizers, my almighty Qin would. Before the other team member could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Qin Lang. Gua? Everyone turned and saw Bei Yunj standing not far away. She responded faintly and walked towards them. Sister Qin is really good. How could she recognize you when you're dressed so tightly? The team member muttered in disbelief. Bei Yunj sized up Qin Lang's bandaged hand and asked, Is your hand okay? Even Qin Lang's voice became gentler. It's okay. The doctor said that she'll be fine after a few days. Why are you incontinent K? Almighty Qin, why are you talking nonsense? The doctor clearly said that if we don't treat her as soon as possible, sooner or later. Before the team member could finish, he felt Qin Lang's cold gaze and immediately shut his mouth. I'm here to take a look around the K-Continent Academy. Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. Why don't you come back with me today? I'm afraid that won't do. Almighty Qin has to stay in the place arranged by the organizers or else. Before the staff member could finish speaking, their eyes met with Bei Yunj's languid and beautiful eyes. But at this moment, they were unbelievably cold. What's going on? Suddenly, a clear and cold voice attracted everyone's attention. Everyone turned around and saw a woman in a purple suit walking over. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows as she recognized this person. Jiang Ji. Director Jiang, something happened to Godly Qin's team. The staff explained to Jiang Ji in a low voice. Jiang Ji also quickly recognized Bei Yunj. Jealousy flashed across her eyes and she unconsciously clenched her fists. She didn't understand why Cui Hengchuan had to have this woman. Jiang Ji smiled again. Miss Pei, we meet again. End of chapter. Chapter 1058. Bei Yunj smirked. No wonder you dared to do such a business in Yuncheng. It turns out that Miss Jiang's roots are in Continent K. So President Jiang and this lady know each other? The staff immediately smiled apologetically. Miss Pei, although we know each other, I can't do such unfair things for you, right? You can understand this, right? After Jiang Ji finished speaking with a smile, she seemed to have vented her anger and looked down at Bei Yunj. Everyone had thought that the two of them were old acquaintances. But now, it seemed like they had been holding grudges for a long time. I'll settle this. You wait in the lounge. Before Qin Lang could finish, Bei Yunj interrupted him. Go back and rest first. For a moment, the atmosphere was tense. Even Qin Lang's team members felt that Almighty Qin's sister was too arbitrary and domineering. She wanted Almighty Qin to rest. Could she settle it? Or did she think that someone would delay the competition for her sake? Before Qin Lang could finish, he met his sister's eyes and immediately shut his mouth. After a while, Qin Lang could only nod and use his eyes to signal the other team members to calm Bei Yunj down and not let her be impulsive. After they left, Bei Yunj's smile disappeared and her beautiful eyes were filled with hostility. But, do you think that you don't have to take responsibility for hurting my family? After she finished speaking, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Bei Yunj to pursue the matter with the organizers. The staff members were in the wrong. Jiangji smiled and said, "Miss Pei, what compensation do you want?" "Miss Jiang, do you think you have the status to negotiate with me?" Bei Yunj sneered softly. She raised her eyebrows and sat down in her seat. Before she came, Bei Yunj had already contacted someone. Now she just had to wait. As expected, Jiangji's face had already darkened. The staff beside her was even more sarcastic. "Miss Pei, who do you think you can get to negotiate with? It doesn't matter if Almighty Qin wants to compete or not. The maps of the gods can still be played without him. If you know what's good for you, you can still stay and watch the competition. If you don't know what's good for you, then I can only ask you to leave." Hearing this, Jiangji's complexion improved slightly. Jiangji smiled. "Miss Pei, I understand that you're in a bad mood, but rules are rules. How can they be changed so easily?" The staff member patted his collar and glanced at Bei Yunj with disdain. "If there's nothing else, I'll let Almighty Qin continue the competition." Hearing this, the team members couldn't help but look at Bei Yunj. However, there was no movement from Bei Yunj. It seemed like she was here to throw a tantrum, but Qin Lang was a real siscon. However, unexpectedly, before the staff left, a man in a suit and leather shoes suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight, panting. This person looks very familiar. Everyone was discussing. Suddenly, someone recognized him. It's Mr. Colin from the Delaney Group. Why would this person appear here? Jiangji couldn't help but look at Colin in disbelief. This was the general manager of the Delaney Group's Continent K branch. Normally, even she wouldn't have the chance to see him. "Mr. Colin, how did you—" When the staff saw Colin, his smiling face immediately changed. However, Colin didn't pay attention to anyone. Instead, he tidied up his suit and immediately walked in front of Bei Yunj. "Miss Pei, sorry to keep you waiting." End of chapter. Chapter 1059. Bei Yunj looked at her watch and did not say anything else. Instead, she curled her lips with interest. "Colin, this stadium belongs to Delaney, right?" Colin nodded. "Yes, Mississippi," he immediately smiled. "If you like it, I believe Mr. Delaney is willing to give it to you." Hearing this, the staff member's smile stiffened. He suddenly had a bad feeling, indeed. The next moment, Bei Yunj curled her lips. "Mr. Colin, you don't have to be so polite. However, I do want to borrow this land for a few days." Colin could not help but ask, "Miss Pei, why are you suddenly interested in the stadium?" "I'm not too interested." Bei Yunj laughed lazily. "I'm afraid that someone will chase me out." "You must be joking. Although the people who have been setting up the stadium these few days are all from EG Corporation. But if EG Corporation really dares to chase you out, aren't they afraid that Mr. Vic will pursue the matter?" As soon as she finished speaking, the staff member's heart trembled and he instantly felt weak. Mr. Vic, that was the founder of EG Corporation. What was the background of Almighty Qin's sister? She got Mr. Colin to receive her and even had contact with Mr. Vic. At this moment, only Qin Lang and the vice-captain of Vic's team, who had missed the competition but had met him at the auction, knew a little about the inside story. After a while, Colin seized the time to gain her favor. "Don't worry, Miss Pei. As long as you're willing, the right to use this venue will belong to you." Everyone heard Bei Yunj's interested voice and said lazily, "Okay, then I'll have to consider if I should chase you out." The staff member's face turned green and he almost fainted. He did not expect things to turn around like this. The situation was obvious now. The organizer was not the one who could chase them out, but Bei Yunj. If Bei Yunj was even a little unhappy, she could kick all of them out of the door at any time. Jiangji was the first to panic. She gritted her teeth. This land was rented to EG Corporation by the Delaney Group. How can you give it to others just like that? Colin frowned and glanced at Jiangji unhappily. However, he smiled generously. "Miss, you probably don't know that EG Group has never rented our land. Because of Mr. Vic, it had been used by EG Corporation for free all these years. Of course, if Miss Pei wants it too, we'll consider you first. This was also what Delaney had instructed him before he came. As long as it was related to Bei Yunj, no matter what, they had to side with Bei Yunj. He had to coax the god of fortune. At this moment, Jiang Ji's face alternated between red and green, and the staff stuttered, Mr. Colin, our Maps of the Gods competition is only halfway through. How can we? I'm sorry, but we need Miss Pei's approval. Colin smiled. My mission this time is to assist Miss Pei. The staff member looked like he was about to cry. Jiang Ji gritted her teeth and looked at Bei Yunj. She didn't know where this woman got her connections from. Bei Yunj curled her lips and walked slowly in front of Jiang Ji. Her eyes were unruly, but her voice was gentle. Boss Jiang might not be used to it yet. In my place, I'm the rule. Everyone, you can also consider whether it's better to play here or be thrown out. Bei Yunj unwrapped the candy and smiled slowly. End of chapter. Chapter 1060. The staff member's body stiffened. After a long time, he could only bow to Bei Yunj. Miss Pei, I'll go ask our manager first. Jiang Ji bit her lip and stared at Bei Yunj with red eyes. However, not long after, the manager hurried over. After nodding slightly to Colin, he also looked at Bei Yunj. The manager bowed slightly. Miss Pei, I'm sorry I didn't have time to find you just now. My surname is Yang. When Bei Yunj swiped the card and came in, there was news in the manager's office. But Bei Yunj left so quickly that he didn't know who had the senior management card. Manager Yang. Bei Yunj nodded. Manager Yang immediately smiled. Miss Pei, I'm very sorry about Almighty Qin's injury. Since it was your request to delay the competition, we naturally have no objections. But the longest delay can't be more than 7 days. I hope Miss Pei can understand. During this period, Almighty Qin can freely change his team members. I understand. I'll take him to check on his injury first. Bei Yunj glanced at Manager Yang. As for the person who deliberately hurt him, I also hope the organizers can give me a satisfactory result. Miss Pei, don't worry. I hope your friendship with Mr. Vic will not be affected by these things. As soon as he finished speaking, Colin couldn't help but look at Manager Yang. Old colleagues. They were all here to coax the god of fortune. At this moment, Qin Lang's team members were all in a daze. They didn't expect that the competition could really be delayed. Miss Pei's network was heaven-defying. In the end, when the delay was announced, everyone was shocked, including the members of these teams. And EG Group's way of handling it was very humane. In these 7 days, all the members of the competition would enjoy the best treatment at the top hotel and would also be given a team consolation fee as compensation. In the laboratory, Luo Xie's eyelids twitched. After hearing Tsing Su's message, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. What's the matter? Asked a handsome man with shoulder-length blonde hair beside her. There's a patient today. Luo Xie pressed between his eyebrows. He didn't expect that Miss Pei would use him so easily. Yo, don't you always have Sunday off? There are still people who dare to give you patience? The blonde man asked with a smile. You'll soon know who dares to give it to me. Luo Xie sneered. With Huoshidu around, he could not refuse at all. So, everyone saw a handsome young man with short silver hair and a girl with long curly hair appear in front of them. Miss Pei, you're quite bold. How dare you bring anyone to my laboratory? In an instant, Luo Xie's eyes were full of thought. Wasn't Bei Yunj afraid that he would tell Huoshidu? She actually brought a man to his place? This is my third brother Qin Lang. His hand is injured. Please take a look at him, Dr. Luo. Bei Yunj tried to sound polite. Luo Xie looked at Qin Lang with some surprise. Although they didn't look alike at all, he was still a handsome young man. Is this your friend? Qin Lang turned around and asked. Bei Yunj, no. Luo Xie's eyelids twitched. Mr. Qin, come with me for a checkup first, another member in a white coat said. Qin Lang nodded and followed him in. Soon, Luo Xie pursed his lips. Miss Pei, I won't be seeing patients today. Bei Yunj gestured for him to look at the computer. The contract for the import of the latest batch of medical equipment from Stevens Research Institute has been sent to Dr. Luo's email. P.S. Good night, end of chapter. Chapter 1061. With that said, Luo Xie froze and stared at Bei Yunj for a while before he got up and went in. On the other hand, the blond man followed beside Luo Xie excitedly, but his eyes were fixed on Bei Yunj. Luo Xie, don't you think that girl is very beautiful? Of course. Luo Xie glanced at him coldly. If she wasn't beautiful, how could this woman be so bewitching? The blond man suddenly poked his shoulder. Luo Xie, I have something I need your help with. Hearing this, Luo Xie looked at him. Soon. It's not the first time Mr. Qin's hand has been injured. He needs to be hospitalized. Luo Xie glanced at Bei Yunj. I have a temporary hospital. I can arrange for him to go there. How long will it take? Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow. If the surgery is successful, it will take at least 3 months. I will arrange 3 surgeries for him. Before the second surgery, he can't compete no matter what, Luo Xie said calmly. Hearing this, Bei Yunj frowned. What about Qin Lang's competition? The blond man beside him poked Luo Xie anxiously with his elbow. Only then did Luo Xie frown and glance at his friend unhappily. In the end, Luo Xie had no choice but to ask, Does Miss Pei have time? Bei Yunj glanced at the two of them. I have something on tomorrow. You can do it today too. The blond man said happily. After noticing Bei Yunj's gaze, Luo Xie could only explain, My friend is a director and has recently been hired for a perfume commercial. He wants you to be the female lead. The blond man could not help but glare at Luo Xie, blaming him for introducing himself too casually. He immediately introduced himself with a smile. Miss Pei, I'm Brennan, the director of our nation. My films have won 3 Mayork Awards. The Mayork Awards were the highest award in the film industry. If it was Qin Yu, he would definitely recognize this famous director, Brennan, who had created countless best actors and best actresses. Brennan stared at her with bright eyes and asked urgently, Excuse me, Miss Pei, do you have any thoughts of acting? In his opinion, not only was Bei Yunj stunning, but she was also very intelligent. She was obviously beautiful and languid, but when she raised her eyebrows, she was in high spirits. This was the type he had never met before. He was also confident that with Bei Yunj as the female lead, they would be able to produce the most stunning youthful literary film. No. Brennan, the rejection was very straightforward, without any pleasantries. Then how about an advertisement? Is that all right, Miss Pei? Brennan looked at her pitifully. He still wanted to try Bei Yunj's talent. If he really had the talent, it wouldn't be too late for him to pester him. Bei Yunj glanced at him indifferently. Brennan also hinted to Luo Xie to help persuade him. He was a famous director, yet he had to shamelessly do such a thing. Luo Xie could only say, Miss Pei, my friend is obsessed with acting. If you don't agree to shoot the advertisement, he might follow you in the middle of the night. Brennan's smile froze. Bei Yunj, soon. The corners of Bei Yunj's lips curled up. Sure. Can Dr. Luo help me with the matter I troubled you with last time? Luo Xie suddenly remembered that Bei Yunj had asked him to help fool Huishidu. He would dare to do this? Luo Xie, you don't even dare to agree to a young lady's request. Are you still a man? Seeing that there was hope for his advertisement, Brennan immediately punched Luo Xie. Luo Xie was speechless. Was this young lady's request normal? End of chapter. Chapter 1062. Miss Pei, don't worry. I'll agree on his behalf. There's definitely no problem. Brennan immediately patted his chest and promised. Luo Xie wanted to speak, but Brennan quickly covered his mouth. Since we're brothers, I'll help you. What's wrong? Luo Xie's expression turned ugly. After Qin Lang came out, he was immediately arranged to be hospitalized nearby for treatment. Brennan also rushed Luo Xie to do a further examination for Qin Lang. On the other hand, Bei Yunj and Brennan went to a nearby hotel. In just half an hour, the equipment and cameras were all ready. Miss Pei, why don't you change your clothes first? Brennan smiled, but his hands were nervously rubbing. Bei Yunj sent Huashidu the last location message. Miss Pei, are you looking for someone to bring you home? Actually, I can send you home. Brennan was very enthusiastic. No need. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she followed the makeup artist and walked in. Brennan did not feel defeated. Instead, his eyes lit up as he looked at Bei Yunj. Director, this person has a bad temper. Where did you hire her? Someone sighed. Really? I think she's quite cool. It wasn't easy for me to hire her. You guys have to work harder. Brennan snorted. He had a feeling that this advertisement would be popular. The others were speechless. Was this the god's face filter? 20 minutes later, everyone finally knew why Brennan's filter was so big. Brennan had actually taken on this advertisement for more than half a year. However, he had interviewed artistes of all sizes, from international movie actresses to theater students. No one could meet Brennan's high standards. This made everyone feel that Brennan was too stubborn. How could anyone have a god's face that walked out of a painting? But at this moment, the staff members of the advertisement shoot looked at the person walking over and felt that their faces were slapping regardless of gender. When they saw this scene with their own eyes, their eyes almost popped out. In the beginning, Brennan had defined the theme of this perfume as purity and desire. Simply put, it was high class and sexy. Hence, he had not considered Asians. The clothes he prepared were also more palatial. However, when he saw Bei Yunj, Brennan vaguely felt that the girl in front of him could break his fixed thinking. Therefore, he quickly contacted a friend who was a collector and sent over his favorite sandalwood folding fan. It turned out that his intuition was right. He looked at the girl in front of him. Her black hair was wet, and water droplets slid down her slender and fair neck to her loose collar. However, she didn't show any emotion. Her pair of lazy and bright eyes contained a distant playfulness. Instead, she had an aura that made people unable to get close to her. Bei Yunj was only wearing a long, translucent robe that clung to her body after getting wet. Her slender and beautiful hands were holding a folding fan, but the staff had already made sure that there was no risk of her being exposed. How are we going to film this? Bei Yunj's tone was still lazy. She lowered her eyes and played with the folding fan in her hand. As for the female staff member who was in close contact with him, when she saw that the person in front of her had wet eyelashes, she inexplicably felt her face turn hot. This was too much. The current female Gu King was killing people online. Brennan coughed softly. He didn't dare to go near Bei Yunj. Instead, he sat in front of the equipment and explained the details of the shoot through the microphone. It wasn't only Brennan. The others also didn't dare to look at Bei Yunj. Where did this demoness come from? If they took another look, their hearts would uncontrollably race. End of chapter. Chapter 1063. Bei Yunj was very perceptive. After hearing this, she followed Brennan's instructions and stood in the fountain of the goddess statue. Behind her was a magnificent dome hall, and the moonlight was hazy. However, Bei Yunj leaned against the statue of the goddess and raised her eyebrows lazily with a folding fan. The water droplets that sprinkled on the ground were even more eye-catching than the moonlight and the statue of the goddess. At this moment, the people not far away happened to see this scene. The girl leaned against the pool. The surface of the pool was sparkling. The statue of the goddess, the moonlight, and her intertwined into an unforgettable scene. If this was in a movie, it would definitely be a classic. Cut! Brennan was extremely excited. Miss Pei, you're too smart. A newbie who was filming for the first time could actually pass in one take. She was too talented. Miss Pei, it's a pity that you're not in the industry. Brennan said impatiently, as if he had discovered an excellent piece of unpolished jade and couldn't wait to let everyone know. But then, Bei Yunj saw a man not far away. Her eyes curved. Brother! Brennan immediately perked up. Miss Pei's brother? Bei Yunj did not agree, but if Bei Yunj's brother had thought it through, then he was not far from success. Brennan could not wait to turn his head, but when he met the man who was still holding a cigarette in his hand, his smile froze. How could it be Master Du? Bei Yunj had just put on a towel and walked to Huashidu's side. After the man exhaled a faint mist, his pale-colored eyes finally landed on her, and the darkness in his eyes disappeared. "Do you like acting?" Bei Yunj smiled and said, "Just as." Hearing this, he reached out and brushed the wet hair on her neck. His tone was light and calm, but he seemed to be restraining himself. "Go and dry your hair." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. She did not notice that the man's voice was hoarse with desire. She followed the staff back to change her clothes. Brennan, who had always liked to capture people's emotions, felt Huashidu's emotions for the first time. This wasn't any other kind of feeling. It was the most primitive and straightforward desire that a man had for a woman. "Master Du," Brennan stiffened, not knowing how to ask. The man was already looking at him with a faint smile. His well-proportioned hand under the sleeve of his suit slowly extinguished the cigarette butt. "Brennan, did you find my subordinate for the actor you're looking for?" Brennan was instantly petrified. "Master Du, I don't know. Luo Xie didn't tell him that Miss Pei was Master Du's woman. But now, even if they didn't want to, they had already done it." It was also the first time Brennan had been so bold. He braced himself and smiled obsequiously at Huashidu. "Master Du, Miss Pei is really talented in acting. Look at the filming just now. Isn't it very lively?" The corner of Tsing Su's mouth twitched. Was Brennan crazy? At this point, they were still thinking about letting Miss Pei enter the industry? "I don't want anything from this shoot to be leaked." Huashidu glanced at him and said slowly, "I can arrange a suitable actor for you." Brennan's eyes widened in disbelief. "No, Master Du, this is a work of art. How can you?" The man's lips curled up non-committally as he asked lightly, "Is that so?" When Brennan heard this, he thought that he had a chance to fight for it, but he didn't expect the next sentence. "Then give me the original and delete the rest." End of chapter. Chapter 1064. Brennan was speechless. When she came out, Bei Yunj saw Brennan's depressed expression and raised her eyebrows subconsciously. "Mr. Brennan, if there's no problem, I'll go back first," Bei Yunj said. Brennan forced a smile. "Goodbye, Miss Pei." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and looked at Huashidu thoughtfully. In the car, Bei Yunj sent a message to Brennan before she found out what Huashidu had done. "Brother, you don't like me filming advertisements?" Bei Yunj curled her lips and asked subconsciously. Actually, Bei Yunj had never liked to appear in public. In her previous life, other than the necessary award ceremonies, she would occasionally appear and never pay attention to anything else. "Brennan's image is not suitable for you." The Hua family had always taught the men in the family to respect women. If Bei Yunj really liked filming, Huashidu would respect her opinion. However, when Huashidu was present and saw the other men at the filming venue staring straight at his little girl, he could not help but do so. He even had the urge to teach Brennan a lesson. After living for more than 20 years, Huashidu did not expect himself to have such a strange time. "Brother, you don't like it?" Bei Yunj's eyes were filled with pity. Huashidu glanced at her and knew that Bei Yunj still did not know that her original copy was in his hands. Huashidu's eyes darkened when he thought of the scene by the pool. Even his fingertips moved unnaturally, and the veins on the back of his hand were faintly discernible. Then, suddenly, Bei Yunj's call broke the atmosphere. "Teacher, when did you go to Continent K?" After Vic found out about the competition venue, he immediately called his god of fortune to ask about it. "These 2 days." Bei Yunj's tone did not indicate whether she was in a good mood. Vic was still uneasy. "Then Mr. Qin's injury, is it all right?" Bei Yunj chuckled, but her voice was cold. "He needs 3 operations and will need at least 3 months of treatment. Does Mr. Vic think it's all right?" Vic. Sure enough, he still provoked her. Bei Yunj's tone was indifferent. "Right now, I want to know how the competition will proceed." Qin Lang viewed the competition as more important than his life. "Mr. Qin, this was a sudden accident, and it was also caused by our organizers, so I have no opinion on who you change." Vic immediately said. Bei Yunj thought of something. "Is there a vice captain of RS who didn't come? Isn't Mr. Qin's vice captain hospitalized?" He probably can't replace Mr. Qin. Bei Yunj, why is this RS team full of sick people? Suddenly, Vic hinted again. Actually, it's fine even if you're not from the original team. Bei Yunj thought that it was a good idea. You want me to poach people from other teams? I didn't make you lose your dignity. Vic immediately said, can't you? Bei Yunj, after hanging up the phone. Bei Yunj glanced at the man who was reading a book beside her. Seeing that he did not say a word, she thought that Huashidu was still ignoring her because of what she said. Brother? Bei Yunj called out. The man did not look up at her. What's wrong? Bei Yunj did not expect that the first thing that could make her so unhappy would be a book. Suddenly, Bei Yunj placed one hand on a certain someone's book and looked at Huashidu with curved eyes. P.S. Chapter 1065. Brother, I think I lost my hair tie. Huashidu glanced at the smiling little girl, as if he was looking at a cat that wanted to play with him. Not long after, the man reached out and took out a new hair tie. Bei Yunj often dropped this thing, so Huashidu often prepared 2 or 3 in the car. Sit over here. Huashidu casually placed the book on his lap. When Bei Yunj came closer, he noticed that the little girl did not dare to get too close. He sneered and his playful tone was a little muddled. But, are you afraid now? Before Bei Yunj could speak, the man suddenly seemed to be very close to her. His magnetic and smiling voice sounded in her ear, tickling her ear. Turn around. Her back was facing the man. Before she could react, the man bit the hair tie gently and his gaze landed on her. Then his slender and well-defined fingers stroked her slightly curly long hair. His actions were surprisingly gentle. Bei Yunj paused. For a moment, she did not expect the man to tie her hair. The man rolled up his sleeves elegantly, revealing a small section of his cold and fair wrist. The scene of him tying the little girl's hair with his eyes lowered was even more pleasing to the eye. It was obviously Huashidu's first time tying a ponytail for the little girl. It was a little low, but the effect was not bad. After he was done, Bei Yunj was about to speak when the man suddenly reached out and gently pinched the back of her neck. His low and hoarse voice was unbelievably sexy. It's time to behave, Yin-yun. Bei Yunj's ears inexplicably heated up. When the little girl lowered her head just now, her collar was loose. From behind, he could clearly see the little girl's clear collarbone in front of her and the scenery below her fair neck. However, Huashidu quickly avoided the places that he should not look at. The man's eyes were half hidden. For the time being, he did not want to scare this child. After returning, Bei Yunj returned to her bedroom because of a phone call. However, she did not notice that Huashidu had gone back to take a cold shower first. In the study room, Master Du, Cui Hingchuan has come to Continent K. We've confirmed that it was indeed Director Donner who gave him the news, Zhou Yu said. Since we're already here, let's get ready to close the net. Huashidu wiped his wrist and said casually, but his eyes were filled with danger. However, in the bedroom, Bei Yunj could not help but frown when she heard Vic say that Qin Lang insisted on competing. Qin Lang rested for 7 days. If he forced himself to endure, he could indeed compete with injuries, but the result was not optimistic. Whether it was the competition or the injuries. Are you really not going to replace Sai? Vic asked cautiously. Bei Yunj sneered, I'm not a professional player. Then you plan to let Mr. Qin participate in the competition? In Continent K, it's not that easy to poach. Vic immediately said in disbelief. Bei Yunj hung up after saying that. I'll think of another way. But what Vic didn't expect was, for some reason, Bei Yunj made another call. Coach, how come you have time to call me? The captain of the HK Esports Club under EG Corporation could not help but be excited. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. I have something to ask you. What is it? Bei Yunj, are you interested in joining the RS team? The HK captain, does the boss know that you're so crazy to poach people? The next day, Continent K Academy. Director Zhou, Donner never thought that this matter would actually make Zhou Yu come over. After being doted on by the big shots, I've gone wild. /book/83224/ Chapter 1066. How did YG get involved with that person? Donner's expression did not look too good, but he did not dare to offend Zhou Yu. Book/36649/ Do you remember what I just said to the director? Zhou Yu smiled politely, but the emotions in his eyes sent chills down one's spine. After Donner came back to his senses, he nodded with some lingering fear. Director Zhou, I understand. That's good. Zhou Yu nodded. However, just as Donner heaved a sigh of relief, Zhou Yu handed him a very familiar agreement. All right, there's another agreement that you need to sign. After Donner opened it, his expression was particularly ugly. This was YG's confidentiality agreement. But in front of Zhou Yu, he could only slowly pick up the agreement with trembling hands and sign it. After passing it to Zhou Yu, he heard him laugh. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Donner. But there's another piece of news that you should receive very soon. This is Sir's return gift to you. With that said, Zhou Yu left very quickly. Not long after Donner guessed, he received a notice and his face instantly turned pale. He had been unanimously decided by the school board to remove him from the position of director. Donner's pupils constricted violently as if all the strength in his body had been drained. His eyes were unfocused as he sat there paralyzed. How could this be? Could it be that person who did it? Donner recalled Zhou Yu's return gift and his expression became even more fearful. His face turned ashen again. That person must have found out. He had already leaked YG's matter. Donner fell into endless regret and pain. Why did he have to provoke YG in the first place? Just as they arrived at the place where Nancy had agreed to meet, Bei Yunj heard Nancy say in puzzlement, "That's strange. I haven't even started to deal with him. Why has Donner been removed from his position?" Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows. What do you mean by removed? Nancy turned around and saw Bei Yunj. He explained, early this morning, this matter was spread everywhere. They said that Donner was suddenly removed from his position by the school board of K Continent Academy today and that the vice director will be promoted. It's really retribution. Nancy sighed and felt that she didn't have to do anything. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. She suddenly remembered that this morning, Zhou Yu had hurriedly avoided her and left with a document. Nancy's voice interrupted Bei Yunj's thoughts. I heard from Shang Yan that you don't want the doctor from Zhong Lin. Why don't you try the one I found? Bei Yunj saw Nancy take out a folder. When she picked it up and opened it, the photos inside were also very familiar. Luo squinted. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched, and she immediately threw the documents back onto the table. No need. Why did you refuse? This young man was very accomplished in medicine. Even that old man Stephen had praised him. Besides, this young man really likes you. He begged me for a long time. Bei Yunj, why didn't she know about this? Get her away from me. I don't want to cause trouble for myself. Bei Yunj glanced at Nancy, still cold and emotionless. Nancy, he didn't know what that young man was thinking. He actually liked his disciple. When he talked about Ger, he looked like a nervous little boy. But he had heard from Stephen that Luo Xie had done a lot of research on bipolar disorder I. Maybe he had a way to cure Bei Yunj. Nancy laughed. That young man won't let it go. I think he's very fanatical about you. Bei Yunj, please inform the administrator backstage if you need help. Chapter 1067. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. There was no need for that. By the way, did anyone look for you in the past 2 days? Nancy seemed to have thought about it for a long time before he finally asked. What's wrong? Bei Yunj looked up at him. Nancy's eyebrows were almost twisted into a fried dough twist, but after a while, he sighed. It's the Confederation's Laboratory 191. Bei Yunj had some impression of this laboratory. Nancy had mentioned it to her before. The level of the laboratory in Continent K could overlook the entire world. And the Confederation's Laboratory 191 was considered the leader of the dragons in Continent K. Are they planning to look for me? Bei Yunj asked. The influence of Confederation 191 in Continent K is not to be underestimated. Logically speaking, as long as you enter Continent K, it's impossible for them not to know. Even if they find you at the airport, the chances of them finding you are very high. Nancy was also puzzled. Bei Yunj said, I took a private plane here. Nancy was speechless. He had really underestimated the power of money. Master, you don't want me to enter Confederation 191? Bei Yunj looked at Nancy. In Bei Yunj's opinion, Nancy had a lot of unknown past. The first time she saw him, Nancy leaned against the roadside in ragged clothes and did not care about trifles. Bei Yunj mistook him for a beggar. But in country R, the elegant and warm decorations of the Backton Manor did not seem like Nancy's style. Nancy's eyes were cold and his tone was sarcastic. That dark and ugly place. Everyone's heart is dirty. Bei Yunj looked at him for a while. She just smiled silently. Don't worry, I won't go. Nancy still couldn't help but test her. Really? Actually, Confederation 191 has a lot of experimental data that hasn't been exposed. It's very beneficial for you. As expected. Bei Yunj's hand stopped and she suddenly looked up and asked, Then can I? Nancy's eyelids twitched. He instantly knew what she was going to do. You can't. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows lazily, a little unhappy. Nancy was afraid that Bei Yunj would do something crazy, so she said, Don't do anything stupid. I don't want to see you being hunted down by the Confederate 191 in a few days. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. However, I remember that they have a training camp that is open to everyone. As long as you enter the final round of the training competition, you will have the opportunity to enter their library. Nancy's eyes suddenly turned sneaky. The data of the Confederation 191 from a few years ago can all be accessed through the administrator's mainframe. When the time comes, you can make as much as you want. What about the past few years? Bei Yunj asked. In the past few years, they've been researching something. If not for a few years ago, there was still Guru Zhou, sure? Nancy paused and quickly said, In the past few years, Confederation 191 has been going downhill. There's nothing to see. But Confederation 191 has a very deep foundation. I'll teach you how to get their documents. Nancy had been analyzing the internal situation of Confederation 191 with her the entire morning. Bei Yunj also more or less knew about the relationship between Nancy and Confederation 191. Nancy used to be an external mentor of Confederation 191, but later on, because of some things, her relationship with Confederation 191 completely collapsed. At noon, Nancy had just taken Bei Yunj to eat when she suddenly received another call. Whose is it? Your brother's? Nancy said faintly. Bei Yunj said, Qin, something happened to my third brother. Chapter 1068. Bei Yunj laughed, but her eyes were unreadable. She cut the foie gras slowly. I'll fight for him. It's useless even if I win. According to the standard procedure, Bei Yunj was not a member of Qin Lang's club, and she did not sign up for the competition. Vic could agree to let her participate, but the competition was for the public to see. Then, you're just going to watch? Nancy did not believe that Bei Yunj would do this. Bei Yunj looked at him and smiled. I'll go out in the next few days. What? But the registration for Confederation 191 is the day after tomorrow. If you miss it, you'll have to wait another year. Nancy frowned. This competition could not be signed up by others. Then we'll talk about it next year. Bei Yunj said lightly. Nancy was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted. Is it for your third brother? Bei Yunj did not say anything. Nancy did not understand Bei Yunj either. Bei Yunj looked like she did not want to get close to the Qin family, but when the Qin family was in trouble, she had to protect the Qin family's interests first. Nancy knew very well how precious the data of Confederation 191 was to Bei Yunj, who was as talented as a hacker. Where did such a cold-faced but warm-hearted girl come from? Nancy could not help muttering. I owe her this. Bei Yunj said carelessly. When Nancy heard this, he thought that Bei Yunj was talking about Qin Lang. In the afternoon, Luo Xie came to Nancy's laboratory. It's still not possible. She might think that you're not suitable. Nancy touched the teapot and said calmly. Then who does she like? Luo Xie pursed his lips. Not yet. Sigh, Young man, listen to me. He's not a good person. Nancy began to speak ill of her apprentice in a serious manner. However, Luo Xie noticed the candy wrapper and unopened candy on the table. He could not help but frown. This candy is, in Luo Xie's opinion, this kind of food should not be in a laboratory. It was too disrespectful to scientific research. You like it? Nancy was stunned. Luo Xie's eyelids twitched. Senior, do you have any relatives here? No, Nancy said. Then this child snacks. Luo Xie's eyes were filled with disgust. Nancy happened to catch the emotions in Luo Xie's eyes. Her turbid eyes flashed with a flash of light. This is food. Luo Xie's body trembled. He suddenly raised his head, his gaze exceptionally cold. It was as if Nancy had insulted his idol. Nancy. He couldn't figure out why Bei Yunj had such a good image in Luo Xie's eyes. It's really hers. How old am I? How can I like to eat such things? Nancy would never admit that she had stolen Bei Yunj's candies. Luo Xie also seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. His face didn't look too good. He discovered that his idol's private life was different from what he had imagined. In his opinion, he should be an arrogant, unruly, and cold person. But why would she eat sweets? And they were all strawberry-flavored? Then, Luo Xie said something that didn't sound very smart. How can she eat candy? Nancy, see how that wicked apprentice of his has got the young man in a trance. He laughed. What, do you think she's a goddess who can't eat? Only drinking do? She didn't. Chapter 1069. Luo Xie was in a daze and even his figure was on the verge of collapsing. It was as if he had been deceived. Nance looked at Luo Xie with pity and thought of what Zhong Lin had taught Si Qingyan. Stay away from your idol's private life. Otherwise, you'll never know how wild your idol is when she's not human. Sai, I'll tell you the truth, kid. Nance could not stand it anymore and tried to persuade him. Go, that's not what you imagined at all. She has a bad mouth, a bad temper, and likes to hold grudges. However, Nance did not expect Luo Xie to not believe him and even look at him coldly. Senior, even if you don't like her, you can't insult her reputation like this, Luo Xie said. Nance was speechless. Wasn't he telling the truth? No, Luo, old Mr. Nance, since you're not willing to help me, I'll go back first. Before Luo Xie left, he interrupted Nance's explanation. Oh right, even if you don't help me, I hope you won't insult me like this. He smiled coldly. You were talented back then, but I believe that you will soon surpass your achievements. With that said, Luo Xie directly turned and left. Nance was speechless. Hardcore fans could not afford to offend him. These few days, Bei Yunj greeted Huashidu and said that she was studying at her senior's place. Huashidu rarely asked her anything else. He only told her to rest. However, many things had happened in Continent K these few days. As Qin Lang was not around, the remaining team members and coaches got into a fight on the way back to the hotel and were sent to the local police station in Continent K for a few days. And because of this, Qin Lang was so angry that he almost beat up this group of bastards and made them his friends. In the ward, the old coach was still discussing a solution with Qin Lang. These bastards, they're all too outrageous. If they were in front of you, they wouldn't dare to fight. Qin Lang glanced at him and sneered. The old coach paused and smiled awkwardly. But Ozhua is indeed stronger than me. He can train you better, but he can't suppress the other brats. In half a month, when I officially leave. Qin Lang changed the topic. The whole team was sent to the police station because of a fight. I don't know what the outside world is talking about. Don't worry about that. The news outside has been suppressed. Nothing has been leaked, the old coach said. What? Qin Lang looked up at him in surprise. In the past, as long as there was a slight disturbance in the esports circle, it could cause the entire esports circle to sink. However, the news of the entire RS team being sent to the police station for fighting was so explosive, yet it didn't spread like wildfire. Speaking of which, I also find it strange. The headquarters was prepared to suppress it for you, but in the end, the person who suppressed it for you was EG Corporation. The old coach sighed. EG Corporation has been expanding the market in Continent K recently. They're much better than our headquarters. However, why would EG Corporation help us? Qin Lang's short silver hair was messy, and his dark eyes were gloomy. He remembered that Gul'er seemed to know Vic from EG Corporation. However, when Qin Lang called Bei Yunj, no one answered. Forget it. Let's find out what happened when they were fighting. Qin Lang leaned against the wall and said calmly. 7 days passed. The finals of Map of the Gods on Continent K had begun. Chapter 1070. After Xiao Han hung up the phone, he was completely relaxed. His power would protect him. He just played with a woman, not murder or arson. No matter what, he would not admit to this. How could an artist be associated with a rapist? He would never allow anyone to ruin his image. As for Wei, Xiao Han crossed his fingers, his eyes filled with viciousness. He would make her regret being so stupid and ignorant. For some reason, the news of Xiao Han being detained by the Yuncheng police station exploded on the entire foreign network. Especially when they found out that the instigator of this matter was Wai Yuan, it caused a heated discussion and anger. What does country A mean? Country-wise people detain them so casually? They're so bold. Could there be a conspiracy behind this? The music industry doesn't get involved in politics. I also hope that country A respects artists. Thank you. Isn't Wayne the most speechless one? The International Musicians Association has a hierarchical system. No matter how powerful Wai Yuan is, she's inferior to Mr. Xiao Han in seniority. Isn't it obvious that there's someone behind this? How dare they stop Xiao Han's performance? I request for Wai Yuan to withdraw from the International Musicians Association. That's right. Yun must withdraw from the International Musicians Association. Country A has no right to detain Xiao Han. I heard that too. It's said that the woman who was violated looks very ordinary. The discussion grew louder and louder. The next day, there were even members of the International Musicians Association who jointly requested Wai Yuan to withdraw from the International Musicians Association. However, to everyone's surprise, not only did Du Xiao not let them withdraw, he even forced this group of joint petitioners to withdraw. The people on the foreign network were furious. I can tell now. Du Xiao is Yun's backer. You just found out? When Du Xiao brought Wai Yuan into the International Musicians Association, he probably wanted to pass the position to Wai Yuan. Otherwise, would Wai Yuan dare to be so arrogant? After this incident, Du Xiao's side couldn't be at peace. President Du, how can we protect Wai Yuan? The voices outside are too loud. If this continues, I'm afraid they will boycott the International Musicians Association. Mais, tell me the truth. Did Xiao Han do that kind of thing? Du Xiao asked expressionlessly. Mais wanted to say something but hesitated. Du Xiao, you know, I don't want the International Musicians Association to be handed over to a group of people who have no bottom line. I don't know the details, but the forces behind Xiao Han have been building relationships with the people above Neely recently. I'm afraid it's most likely. Du Xiao rubbed the space between his eyebrows. In the end, he sighed and said indifferently, then no matter what I say, I won't let him stay. President Du, if he stays, it will be troublesome for Wai. After Du Xiao finished speaking, someone suddenly barged in. Elder Du. Oh no, someone hacked Yun's external account. What? Du Xiao's expression changed. Bei Yunj's external account had always been managed by the International Musicians Association. Other than the occasional works, there was nothing else. That person used Yun's account to send a private message to the International Musicians Association. He said that if we don't hand Wai Yuan over, he will attack the International Musicians Association's official website. Let all the programs in the International Musicians Association collapse. The boy who spoke showed the private message to Du Xiao, but the next moment, he saw that person using Yun's account to shout. They said that they would attack the International Musicians Association's official website at 10 o'clock today. Extremely arrogant and conceited. Ridiculous. Du Xiao slammed the table angrily and stood up. However, Just as Du Xiao made up his mind to contact his friends in this field to deal with this matter, they all avoided him. Obviously, they also thought that Wang Lin was reaping what she sowed. End of this chapter. Chapter 1071. This should be the most tragic loss in the history of the RS team. How can we continue watching this? What's wrong with the RS team? They changed 2 members of the second team? That's right. Where did Almighty Qin go? We want Almighty Qin. We want Almighty Qin. The fans of the RS team were furious and dissatisfied, but they did not know that Qin Lang was injured and hospitalized. At this moment, Xiao Zhi's eyes were filled with mockery and he was overjoyed. He had finally trampled the RS team under his feet. It's too boring to win like this. One more round and we'll win completely. Xiao Zhi's team started to clamor. The team members on the other side were without a leader and started to panic. After all, they had tried to change the main team members in the past, but they did not expect that there would be no main team members. During the intermission, the audience who came because of the fame were attacking the remaining members of the RS team, putting a lot of pressure on the players who went on stage. They were also trying to force Qin Lang out. The coach went on stage and said something like encouragement. Play well. Almighty Qin is waiting for you to win. However, this made the team members even more nervous and they could not think calmly until they were about to go on stage again. The team members could no longer bear the pressure. Coach, but no one caught the emotions that flashed past the coach's eyes. He suddenly handed a bottle of water to the team members and comforted them. Dai Cheng, drink it and it will improve your concentration. Dai Cheng froze. Looking at the coach's eyes, he quickly understood what it was. Forbidden drugs. 2 years ago, the Maps of the Gods competition clearly stipulated that stimulants and other drugs could not be used to improve the player's concentration. However, occasionally, there would still be players who were found to have used forbidden drugs. Qin Lang had clearly told all of them that those who dared to use forbidden drugs would have to get out of the RS team. No, Brother Lang won't give in. Dai Cheng immediately refused. He did not want to ruin his career future, nor did he want the RS team to be ashamed of him. The coach suddenly said sternly, the headquarters have long been concerned about Qin Lang's hand injury. If we don't win this competition, Almighty Qin might be replaced. Do you want Almighty Qin to leave because of you? Dai Cheng froze. He also remembered that during the recent meeting, the headquarters wanted to arrange for other people to come in. Instantly, Dai Cheng became agitated. But Almighty Qin led us to win so many competitions. The headquarters, that's why you have to win. The coach's words crushed Dai Cheng's mentality step by step. Dai Cheng was groomed by Qin Lang and was the most talented player. However, he was also the one in RS who panicked the most because of Qin Lang. Dai Cheng, only you can save Almighty Qin, do you understand? Don't worry, I won't let anyone find out. The coach guided him step by step. At this moment, Dai Cheng's heart was already in turmoil. However, just as Dai Cheng was about to announce the results, there was a sudden exclamation from the audience. Everyone turned their heads subconsciously, but they did not expect to see Qin Lang walking out from the backstage. As for the audience, they were also stunned when they saw the bandage on Qin Lang's hand. What was going on? Almighty Qin was injured? There was no emotion in Qin Lang's clear black eyes. He lowered his head slightly and stroked his signature short silver hair. There was no emotion on his elegant and exquisite face. However, even though Qin Lang was wearing his battle uniform and was only standing among the audience, he still caused an uproar in the field. This caused Xiao Zhi's gaze to turn gloomy, and the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. End of chapter. Chapter 1072. On Neely's side. The young man had already regained his senses and wanted to contact his organization, but both the forum and group had disappeared. It was as if they had never existed. The young man's expression changed and he immediately looked at the local hacker forum and realized that everyone was discussing this matter. Did guns offend someone recently? They're having a good time. When my friend returned home, he realized that his organization was gone. Guns is involved in politics and only looks at the price when accepting orders. This will be over sooner or later? Haha, I'm glad to see this. I heard that Guns has taken on a big order recently. It's from that person from the International Musicians Association. In the end, they received the deposit and their nest is gone. The young man's expression changed. Seeing that it was exactly 10 o'clock, he turned on his phone in a panic, wanting to log into Yun's account. But at this moment, the account could no longer be logged in. The young man regained his senses and his face gradually turned pale. He logged into his personal account again. He realized that there were indeed many people urging him to attack the International Musicians Association's official website. There was no movement from Yun's account either. After reading it, the young man felt a chill run down his spine. This person who could overturn their entire organization in such a short period of time could be said to be terrifyingly strong. 10:30. After Bei Yunj finished writing the report, she could not fall asleep because it was too early. She was bored. After getting out of bed, she poured a glass of cold water and turned on her computer. After logging into the Neely hacker's personal account, she saw a group chat that was crazily sending messages. It was Yun's haters. They were all questioning the group leader why there was no reaction from the International Musicians Association at 10 o'clock. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows lazily. As if she had thought of something, the corners of her lips suddenly curved. She clicked on the group message leisurely and slowly changed the name of the group, Yun's Good Girls. Ever since Bei Yunj accidentally saw the non-mainstream nicknames of Momo's classmates, she had an endless love for such non-mainstream names. Song Yao was the first victim, but she was definitely not the last. At this moment, when the group members saw the name, their bodies trembled, and goosebumps appeared all over their bodies. What's going on? Is this group leader F*King playing a spy? Everyone in the group was so shocked that their hair stood on end. Was there something wrong with this group owner? Did he have that serious illness? Yun's obedient girl? Was this the nickname of a primary school fan club? Bei Yunj was still typing lazily. God Wen is the best. The group members were stunned. Has this group owner lost her mind? Many of the group members were so angry that they cursed, but the other party just kept spamming the same sentence and ignored them. Everyone flew into a rage. When they realized that they could not fight against the evil forces, many of them decided to leave the group. But at this moment, they realized that no matter what, they couldn't leave the group. There was even a sentence that popped up in the background. You enjoy the lifelong membership of Yun's Good Girls. Everyone, it wasn't harmful, but it was extremely insulting. They wanted to kill the group leader. While everyone was fuming with anger, Bei Yunj was still slowly writing a program. He didn't wait for the group members to react. Suddenly, they saw someone taking the lead to swipe. God Wen is the best. God Wen is the best. All of them kept swiping this message as if they were possessed. When they regained their senses, they realized that they were also swiping uncontrollably. Chapter 1073. And the ones who were most agitated were the anti-fans who had just joined the Boycott Wei group chat. Who would have thought that before he could conceive a great anti-fan career, the group chat would become Yun's Good Girls in the blink of an eye? A certain boy's body trembled. What the F***CK? Is this a F***King trap? Before he could come back to his senses, what was even more creepy was that he saw all the group members excitedly scrolling. God Wen is the best. As an anti-fan, he felt a chill run down his spine. He had actually been deceived by a hardcore fan club? The boy immediately wanted to leave the group and run away, but when he chose to leave the group, a sentence popped up from the backstage. You enjoy the lifetime membership of Yun's Good Girls. The boy? Was this something a human would do? But until later. Only then did the others know that this anti-fan group was called Boycott Wei. As long as they chose to join the group chat, the name would immediately change to Yun's Good Girls. What a good trick. At the same time, the young man, who was mentally preparing himself, took a deep breath and clicked on it when he heard the constant notifications from the group chat. However, he did not expect the situation to change. No one was scolding him anymore. Even the group name had changed. The young man looked at the T. Godwin is the best. His expression changed, but the fear in his heart also arose. It was obvious. After the other party hacked into his computer, he obtained all his information and even knew who he was. The young man took a deep breath and suppressed his fear. He no longer dared to provoke this person. He could not win against this person at all. But immediately after, everyone saw that Wang had actually updated her status. It was as if she was feeding everyone chicken soup for life, but it was also inexplicably annoying. Wang, in this world there are always people secretly loving you. Picture. The attached picture was a screenshot of a group message called Yun's Good Girls. Inside, all of them were spamming the slogan, Godwin is the best. And those who were paying attention to this matter realized that these people who were spamming slogans were all Yun's anti-fans. What was going on? Were these anti-fans all fence-sitters? Where were the hackers who wanted to attack the International Musicians Association? They had agreed to meet at 10 o'clock, so why was the account back in Yun's hands? The onlookers couldn't understand. And all the anti-fans were so angry that they almost blacked out. How shameless could he be? How shameless was she? In the meantime, many unorganized anti-fans were puzzled. They could not understand why their former comrades had suddenly betrayed them. Hence, when the unorganized anti-fans saw that there was still a group of people in the biggest boycott group, they all applied to join the group. But then, the familiar scene appeared again. In the blink of an eye, the group name suddenly changed to Yun's Good Girls. The new haters, ? What the heck? What kind of death operation was this? That night, all the anti-fans felt for the first time what it meant to kick an iron board. That night, Yun's group of girls continued to grow. Every member who had entered the group and received the honor of being a lifelong fan was so angry that they couldn't sleep. Especially later on. The old anti-fans tried their best to tell everyone not to join a certain anti-fan group, but there were always people who killed the cat out of curiosity. They became Yun's obedient girl and fell into extreme regret. Du Xiao, Ge? Du Xiao, you got the account back? Chapter 1074. Especially when they saw that their favorite team member was half dead. What the F***ck? Is this new girl crazy? Why is the team battle like this? God, I can play better than her even if I use my face to roll on the keyboard. The fans of RS team were especially angry. However, after Bai Yunj saw the skill level of the other members of the team, her originally clear voice became slightly hoarse. Dai Cheng, 25 seconds. The rest of you, continue to defend. Hearing this, Dai Cheng and Jin froze when they heard this familiar sentence. Others might not know what it meant to announce the time. But in RS team, this was a common sentence for Dai Cheng, Qian, and Qin Lang. This person had probably watched a lot of videos of their games. However, even Qin Lang rarely announced the time within 30 seconds. However, in the current situation, RS team had all fallen. This was their last chance to turn the tables. Dai Cheng and Zhen gritted their teeth and could only rush up to attack. Just as Xiao Ji and the others were about to deal with Dai Cheng and Jin, Bai Yunj finally took action to attract the firepower. The audience and the people in the live broadcast room exploded. Is this girl crazy? What is she planning to do by attacking with half-blood? Is she going to deliver a kill and it's a 1 versus 4? Don't play if you don't know how to play. This F***king RS team is going to become a joke because of her. At this moment, Xiao Ji's eyes were also filled with sarcasm. He only left one person to deal with Dai Cheng and Jin, who were half-blood. Bai Yunj suddenly pursed her lips and a playful smile appeared on her beautiful eyes. When the others were not paying attention, 15 seconds had passed. Suddenly, no one noticed that the person in RS team's main seat had already operated the keyboard as fast as a shadow. A snake-like movement, coupled with a dazzling operation, was so fast that no one could see the control clearly under the game's special effects. Even the commentator felt that it was only a moment. The words in the middle of the screen seemed to be stuck. From the first kill to the fourth kill, it was done in one go. Before the commentator could even speak, the main god controlled by Bei Yunj had already teleported to Dai Cheng's direction in the last 3 seconds. The fifth kill and the destruction of the camp made this game end in 3 seconds. This scene. Even Dai Cheng and Jen were stunned. Why was this so different from what they had agreed with Almighty Qin before? Almighty Qin reported that he would arrive in half a minute to assist. This father's time report was to end the battle in 25 seconds? What kind of extreme reversal was this? Commentator, why was there another person who wanted to ruin their livelihood? He hadn't even started commentating, but the competition was already over? Originally, they thought that the most difficult task would be explaining Almighty Qin. But now, they suddenly felt that this newcomer was even more inhuman. The bullet screen was dead silent as well. Just now. Was there something wrong with their network? Why did the battle end in the blink of an eye? The bullet screen and live audience went crazy. Did this newbie cheat? F***CK, I just realized that this big shots record in Continent Z is against Team HK. Team HK hasn't won even once. Wait, let me make sure that I'm not dreaming. Will RS win? F***C, this big sister is really fierce. Too ferocious. 5 straight kills. This flying effect is even better than Almighty Qin. Look at the expressions of the other RS team members, they're all dumbfounded. I'm dying of laughter. Billion God. Blow up our Billion God? Ooh. I just saw the forum and found out that Billion God actually came to substitute for the competition. I can finally see my daddy Billion play live. End of chapter. Chapter 1075. The friend above is late. Your Ishin is already in a killing frenzy. The people on the other side are all gone. The livestream platform had a nameplate special effect for the rich people who had rewarded them. Therefore, one of the comments by an ID called Brother Ishin's Little Cutie jumped into the eyes of the public. Why is my Ishin a girl? Everyone seemed to be able to hear the heartbreak of his girlfriend fans and couldn't help but want to laugh. But then, the annoying netizens in the livestream started to bully the rich people. Sister Ishin's Little Cutie, DBQ Ishin is too handsome, I'm here to get the ID. Sister Ishin's Little Cutie, me too. Doghead. Sister Ishin's Little Cutie, sob sob sob, who isn't a Ishin's Little Cutie? This competition directly sent Earn 100 million first to the hot search in China and abroad. It also made the scalps of the other teams that wanted to crush RS Team today tingle. The previous round took at most 15 minutes. Xiao Zhi's team used more than 10 minutes to beat RS Team to a pulp. But RS Team relied on Ishin alone to turn the tide in 25 seconds and destroy the team. Even the opponent's resurrection time had not started. Almighty Qin left, and Ishin came. Xiao Zhi's face darkened and he almost threw his keyboard. Who exactly are you? He was so close to beating Qin Lang. Pei Yunj was still slowly putting on her black leather gloves. Her eyes were filled with laziness and impudence as she said slowly, "You don't have to know who I am. Those who are beaten down can only call me Daddy." Dai Cheng and the other members, this temporary captain was so ruthless. The first round was just luck. Next, I'll let you know the consequences of being arrogant. Xiao Zhi said fiercely. But in the last 2 rounds, after RS Team calmed down, they were already familiar with Bei Yunj's command. As long as Bei Yunj went to destroy the camp, the entire competition was very thorough. Crushing. This was even worse than when Qin Lang was the main force. The second half of the competition between Xiao Zhi's team and RS Team ended in less than half an hour. And the applause of RS Team's victory was like bad news. Shaking the other teams, Xiao Zhi's team was over. They were next. The live stream and the audience were very lively. Ishin is killing like crazy, killing like crazy. This RS fan is so happy. Who wouldn't say that Daddy E is awesome? Almighty Qin's fans are also thrilled. But if Almighty Qin comes back, who will be the captain? They are both so strong. Am I the only one who thinks they can be a couple? No. I said no. I will not allow my two husbands to betray me. He stopped midway. The captain of the HK team walked over with a terrible expression. This made Dai Cheng and the others subconsciously stand in front of Bei Yunj, fearing that there would be a conflict. After all, they had always been at odds with the HK team. Dai Cheng was caught off guard and pushed away by the HK captain. What are you trying to do? This voice attracted the attention of the spectators from the other teams. But then, everyone's jaws dropped. The HK captain looked aggrieved. Coach, why did you become the captain of RS? Bei Yunj glanced at him. Weren't you unwilling to join RS? HK captain, did she mean that he was unwilling to join RS, so she was the only one who could replace him? As for the others, when they saw this scene, their jaws almost fell to the ground. They had always heard that the HK team had improved tremendously recently because of a big boss coach. So this coach was Ishin. P.S. Good night, end of chapter. Chapter 1076. Student, put down your weapon. Let's talk nicely. The people around were shocked. They did not expect Bei Yunj to act so quickly. Even the staff could not react in time. Xiao Han also felt that death had enveloped his life. For the first time, he felt like his life was hanging by a thread and his eyes were filled with fear. You, Chief Chen was furious. Who are you? Do you know what you're doing? Put it down. Bei Yunj licked her red lips and suddenly smirked. Before anyone could react, she punched Xiao Han's face ruthlessly. Xiao Han's mouth was filled with blood and his teeth were loose. After howling in pain, he was trembling in fear. The rest of the people were also anxious and in disbelief. They did not expect someone to dare to hit someone in the police station. Crazy, crazy. She was really crazy. Bei Yunj turned her neck and the sound of her muscles and bones moving could be heard clearly. She suddenly laughed and her voice was dangerous and cold. Are you threatening me? Tell me, what kind of urn do you like? Xiao Han met Bei Yunj's cold eyes and felt as if he was soaked in ice as his body trembled. Fortunately, at this moment, Song Yao heard the commotion at the door and immediately opened the door and rushed in. When she saw this scene, her face paled slightly and she immediately went up to grab Bei Yunj's hand. Yunj? Yunj, calm down. The redness in Bei Yunj's eyes faded and she saw Song Yao holding her hand. Are you all right? After Bei Yunj regained her senses, she took a deep breath and said calmly, My hand hurts. Everyone was speechless. Good fellow. Why did it feel like she was being bullied? Then don't be rash. I'll go buy disinfectant cotton for you. It was not the first time Song Yao had seen Bei Yunj unable to suppress her temper. Her fierce appearance was indeed scary. Got it. Bei Yunj replied calmly. Song Yao touched Bei Yunj's head and ran out hurriedly. The others did not dare to agitate Bei Yunj, afraid that Bei Yunj would do it again. Outside the door, Chief Chen had a bad temper. Find her parents. Call this person's parents over. Have you found the school's parents' phone numbers? The staff member checked slowly. Soon. Who wouldn't shout good in their hearts when they saw Xiao Han being beaten like a dog? However, with Chief Chen around, no one could say anything. What bastard is this? Daring to snatch a gun here, I want to see which parent raised such a daughter. Chief Chen finished speaking. The staff member had already made the call, but when he heard the familiar, formulaic reply, he felt a little strange. There was an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Hello, is this the Hualing Subdistrict Police Station in Yun City? Please wait a moment. Someone will come to deal with it in half an hour. The staff answered in confusion. After hanging up the phone, he felt that he had seen this phone number before. Chief Chen had already brought the foreign negotiators and Xiao Han into the meeting room. 20 minutes later, the staff member suddenly had a ridiculous idea in his mind. He immediately opened the record book and checked the phone numbers one by one. She didn't expect that he would really find her a few minutes later. He took a closer look. In the office of the Southern District of Country A. He stood up suddenly and was about to go in to report when he saw a white-haired elder walk in energetically. He smiled politely and asked, "Little comrade, I'm here to look for someone. May I know where the meeting room is?" Chapter 1077. The staff looked at the person in front of him and almost blacked out. His lips were trembling. Chu, what's wrong with her? Why isn't this girl picking up her phone? Elder Chu turned on his flip phone seriously and kept calling Bei Yunj. He did not expect the other party to suddenly pick up. Before Elder Chu could speak, he heard Chief Chen's unfriendly tone. "Bei Yunj's parent? Don't tell me you're not coming? If you're not coming, I'll deal with this child directly." Hearing Chief Chen speak to Elder Chu like this, the staff beside him panicked and did not dare to look at Elder Chu's expression. Knowing that Bei Yunj might have gotten into trouble, Elder Chu's temper was still relatively good. I'm coming. Chief Chen sneered. He did not realize that this voice was exceptionally familiar and hung up the phone. Elder Chu was speechless. Were all the small cadres nowadays so bad-tempered? "Elder Chu, I'll handle this matter." The staff carefully looked at the person beside Elder Chu and his heart skipped a beat. Even the person beside Elder Chu was 2 levels higher than Chief Chen. Elder Chu snorted and walked up without explaining. Actually, Elder Chu was unhappy. The news of Bei Yunj becoming the top scholar in the college entrance examination had spread throughout the district. Even Elder Lung had an invitation to the banquet, but he did not. This girl was too heartless. She did not even think about who took care of her like his biological granddaughter when she was training in the district. At this thought, Elder Chu walked up angrily. The staff could not come back to his senses for a long time. Why was it Elder Chu? What are you thinking about? Has Yun's parent gone up? Uncle Lu came over and asked. He also sighed. This child is actually quite good. She likes to help others. It's just that her temper is a little bad. Coming. The staff nodded, feeling a little numb. All right, I'll go up and take a look. After Uncle Lu finished speaking, the staff suddenly called out to him. Uncle Lu. What's wrong? Uncle Lu was puzzled. Please change your clothes. The staff sized him up and said seriously, it's best if you shave your beard and straighten your back. You'll look more energetic. Uncle Lu was speechless. What was wrong with him? It was not like he was meeting some big boss. What was he doing? Upstairs. They didn't expect that after the incident, the Chief Chun of the crematorium still had a cold expression on his face. Bei Yunj didn't know what to think. She glanced at the phone in Chief Chen's hand and then at Xiao Han, who had just finished bandaging his wound. Xiao Han met Bei Yunj twice and was beaten up twice. Each meal was more vicious than the last. Why aren't your parents here yet? Chief Chen asked coldly. Bei Yunj was also impatient. How would I know which side you called? The school's reserved phone number had been changed over and over again by those people who couldn't be provoked. If she asked a few more questions, they would think that she was annoying them. Chief Chen's expression changed. Ridiculous. Don't you know who your own parents are? He sneered. Today, no matter who your parents are, what you've done is enough for you to bear legal responsibility. At that time, even if you are sent to the international border prison, you asked for it. Who do you think you are? Do you think you can be the hero for everything? Bei Yunj's eyes twitched. Before she could say anything, a voice came from the door. Why do you have to go to prison if you want to be a hero? Chief Chin knew that Bei Yunj's parents had arrived. He turned around and sneered. No wonder you dared to commit murder in the bureau at such a young age. I think it's because the upper beam is not upright, Elder Chu. Chapter 1078. Director Chin instinctively stood up, his entire body tense. His mind was in a mess. He didn't understand why Elder Chu would appear here. And one of the foreigners happened to have seen Elder Chu before. His expression changed slightly and he had the same question as Director Chin. The upper beam is not upright and the lower beam is not upright? Elder Chu laughed, but there was no smile on his face. From the beginning to the end, he gave off an inviolable sense of dignity. Silly girl, what did you do this time? You got someone to scold me while you were at it. Although he was scolding Bei Yunj, Director Chen was scared witless. He felt that Elder Chu's words were directed at him. After regaining his senses, Director Chen's face turned even paler and he looked incredulous. Bei Yunj's guardian is? Elder Chu? Therefore, he was shouting at Elder Chu on the phone just now and even scolded him in front of him. Director Chen suddenly felt a chill down his spine and he almost fainted. He had already checked Bei Yunj's information, but he didn't expect that the guardian would be Elder Chu. Elder Chu only glanced at him indifferently and said calmly, "Don't worry about my identity. I'm here this time to find out what this fellow has done. If she's really guilty, I won't disobey the law. But if my girl is being bullied..." Elder Chu sneered, but everyone present had a bad feeling. This old man isn't dead yet. I want to see which dog dares to bite my head. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's scalps went numb and they didn't dare to look at Elder Chu. Everyone knew that Elder Chu was famous for his bad temper and he never gave anyone face. But it was this kind of Elder Chu who had made countless contributions when he was young. Even many of the main characters in movies and TV series were based on him. At this moment, Director Chen's legs were already trembling. He swallowed his saliva and his eyes were still empty. How could Bei Yunj's guardian be Elder Chu? Originally, he had planned to solve this matter without telling the higher-ups. After all, Xiao Han's background was very powerful and even had connections with Country A. It was fine for him to give Xiao Han some face. Besides, he didn't think that it was worth it to create a conflict between two countries for a powerless woman. But the unexpected mistake was this Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj also fell silent. Not long after she asked, "Old master? You, my guardian?" She couldn't understand why this group of old men had such similar interests. She liked to be a parent everywhere she went. "But, can't I?" Elder Chu said confidently. "All right." Bei Yunj leaned back, closed her eyes and rubbed her eyes. She didn't care if there was one more person. "What's wrong with you? You didn't even pick up your phone?" Elder Chu was very engrossed in his role. Bei Yunj glanced lazily at Director Chen, who was about to shut himself up. "How are you going to pick it up if it's taken away?" Director Chen, who was holding Bei Yunj's phone, was speechless. Under Elder Chu's gaze, Director Chen slowly placed the phone in front of Bei Yunj. "Who can tell me what's going on?" Elder Chu asked coldly. Director Chen's body stiffened at this moment. He didn't dare to push the blame to Bei Yunj. He was afraid that Elder Chu would get angry and throw him out. Xiao Han was not afraid at all. "It was Bei Yunj who hit me time and time again. She even pointed a gun at me." Elder Chu looked at Bei Yunj. "Did he do that?" Bei Yunj said slowly, "Yes." You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.